So you want to buy your dream house abroad and you're wondering which steps you have to take. Well, this is the video for you. And that's because in today's video, I'm sharing the step-by-step process to actually finding cheap properties online in your dream destination. I'm also covering how to safely navigate the deal process and properly manage foreign transactions and tax implications along the way. If you're looking to buy your dream house abroad and start a brand new, exciting chapter, this is definitely the video for you. You don't want to miss it. Let's get to it. Now, before we jump into how to buy your dream property abroad, there's something really important I wanted to talk about first. And really, that's how to smartly manage your international finances and how to avoid the hidden markups traditional banks often charge you when you're moving large amounts of money around to purchase a home. Let's face it, guys, buying a house abroad can seem super complicated and super expensive, but I do have a solution to share with you. And that solution is using Wise, a leading global money management platform that specializes in making international transfers cheaper, faster, and more transparent than traditional banks. Now guys, I've actually been using Wise myself as a digital nomad for years, and as someone who runs numerous online businesses, has international clients, and has lived on 6 different continents, Wise is my go-to solution for managing my money, especially when it comes to living abroad. But the thing is, Wise isn't just for digital nomads, and it can be incredibly powerful, especially when you send large amounts of money abroad, like when purchasing a home. For starters, Wise has low transparent pricing, and it's often significantly cheaper than using a traditional bank. And for high volume transfers, you actually get a dedicated support specialist who can guide you through the process step by step. Wise even has tiered discounts for sending larger volume transactions, which is especially useful when you're sending a large sum internationally to buy your next home. Now later in the video, I'll explain more about how to save money on transaction fees and how to safely move money abroad, so again, don't skip this video. But for now, just know that I'll be linking Wise down below if you want to create a free account in the next few minutes. I definitely recommend using Wise, and right now on your first transfer, you'll get a fee-free transfer up to $600, which is also a nice bonus when you first join Wise. Thanks to Wise's team for sponsoring today's video, and now let's cover how you can buy your next international property and start an exciting new chapter. Alright guys, so the first step in buying a house abroad really is to actually choose the destination you want to move to. And this might seem like a no-brainer, but it's also a step far too many people rush into. So many people out there, or people I've met, either fall in love with a place from Instagram photos they see, or they go on a 1-week vacation and they think, yep, this is the country for me, and they rush a decision that can have lifelong implications. Definitely don't do that, and don't make that mistake. You never want to rush with this kind of decision. Instead, think in terms of your lifestyle plus investment combined. And ask yourself, could you actually live in this country for 3 to 6 months a year? Is there a stable economy or growing demand? Are other expats moving there, or are they leaving this country? And what is healthcare like in this country? And then for the next step, you actually have to spend considerable time in the country you plan on moving to. Again, it's important that you actually spend enough time in a place to go through the seasons, see what life is like there when you're living there as an actual resident and not just on tourism vacation mode. You essentially need enough time to see how a country actually functions, and so you're not viewing it with just rose-colored glasses you have on a 2-week trip. For a lot of people, considering healthcare options is also a major concern, especially if you're at retirement age. Of course, cost of living is also an important consideration. Now, I have plenty of videos on this channel that cover some of the best places to retire, the cheapest retirement destinations, so you can watch those videos, although you probably have a couple of countries in mind for where you're shopping around for your dream home. That said, there are also plenty of popular locations, especially for US buyers right now, that might be on your radar. Portugal is one, and it's still a top choice because it's safe, walkable, and foreigner friendly. Prices have certainly gone up, but deals still exist, especially outside of Lisbon. Next up is Mexico, which is extremely popular because it's close to the United States, it's fairly affordable, and it's quite familiar. Places like Playa del Carmen and Mexico City remain hotspots to this day. Greece is another popular location that offers the European dream lifestyle, and prices are still quite reasonable compared to Western Europe. And then there's also other options like Turkey, which is one of the cheapest entry points to being close in Europe. And you can also find apartments here for a fraction of US prices. Again, these are just a few examples. You probably have a country in mind already, but again, the key takeaway here is that you must spend some considerable time in the country you plan on buying your home in, and do not rush the decision. Alright guys, now the second step in buying a property abroad is to actually research and understand property ownership laws. And this is again where a lot of people rush and they make mistakes that can be quite costly, because just because you can buy a property somewhere, it doesn't mean you can live there year-round, or there might be certain implications for actually obtaining residency and it's important you understand these. For example, in Mexico, foreigners can't directly own property near the coast, and they have to work through a trust in order to do so. In some countries, you'll need government approval before you actually purchase a property as a foreigner, while in other countries, you're fully allowed to own property with basically zero restrictions. There are all kinds of nuances that again change based on the country you're in, and these requirements can also change year over year, so it's important to do your research. Buying a villa on a beach in Bali might sound like a dream life, but in reality, there could also be a ton of red tape and paperwork you have to get through. But the even bigger mistake beginners make is that they think because they buy a property somewhere, it's super easy for them to actually live there year round. However, this isn't the case, and in fact, it's often not true, and many times foreigners will need things like a residency visa, proof of income, or to leave every 90 days and then reset a tourism visa if they want to stay in the country. So again, it's kind of a two-part question. You have to see if you can legally buy property in the country you're interested in, and then how easy it is for you to actually live there for the amount of time you want to live there. Now, if you're from the US and you want to live somewhere in Europe, there are retirement visa options in certain countries, and I have a video covering some of the best places to live and retire in Europe as well that you can check out. But for a lot of people, they'll ultimately go down the path of obtaining a second passport. A lot of people do this through citizenship by investment programs. Some people do it through the ancestry route, and this is actually what I'm doing right now to get my Romanian passport and easier access to the EU. Again, there are plenty of options out there, but you have to do your research, and you also have to note that sometimes obtaining residency or obtaining citizenship can be a lengthy process that you should factor in. All right, guys, and the third step in buying your property abroad, it gets more exciting, and that's to actually begin searching for deals. Now, the thing is, a lot of people will hop onto the major real estate listing websites out there because this is just what they find on Google when they do a quick search. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this, but you will find higher prices, you will find lots of duplicate listings, you'll probably find some scams, and it's not necessarily the only option you should use for your search. Really, when it comes to buying properties abroad, some of the best deals you'll find will be from boots on the ground methods. This could include things like talking to local agents, not just online ones. It could also include joining expat and local Facebook groups where people talk about real estate. You could also network with other buyers and expats who again have more experience about buying property in the country you're interested in. And it could be as simple as walking through neighborhoods you're interested in and calling numbers you see on real estate signs. Honestly, in a lot of countries, a lot of real estate deals are still pretty offline, and if you stick with only online platforms, you'll probably find the highest prices and miss out on some of the best deals. This is also why I once again recommend actually spending considerable time in the country you want to move to. It takes time to get a feel for the lay of the land, to find a trustworthy real estate agent, to network with other expats, and this isn't the kind of process you want to rush or force because it's better when it happens a little bit naturally. And guys, this kind of ties into step number 4, and I'm going to repeat myself here again because it's so important, but you have to visit the country you're planning on buying in. A place can really feel magical for 7 or 14 days, but I recommend spending at least 60 to 90 days there and going a couple of times before you pull the trigger on buying a house. After all, you need to experience what life is like there on a random Tuesday, the noise levels at night, internet reliability, how safe it is, and experience daily routines like going for groceries, the gym, or just taking public transport. If you can spend a few months in your country of choice and just rent somewhere longer term, this will give you more of a realistic experience and feel for what living there is actually like. Now, once again, when you are spending considerable amounts of time abroad, I definitely recommend checking out Wise like I mentioned in the intro. Your Wise account doesn't charge any monthly fees, and it lets you hold money in over 40 currencies and spend across over 150 countries. So it's truly a global solution for your finances. It also has super transparent low fees, and once again, Wise is how I've been spending money abroad for years as a digital nomad, and it has saved me so much money in aggravation versus always hunting down ATMs or dealing with expensive foreign transaction fees. Like I said, you can also check out the link in the description box and pinned comment to get started with Wise today. All right, guys, and the 5th step in buying your property abroad is to start working with a local lawyer. And guys, this is not the step you try and save money. It's not the step you work with a friend of a friend of a friend who maybe knows how to buy a property in the country you're looking at. You need to do this the right way. After all, a good and trustworthy local real estate lawyer is your safety net. They'll be able to confirm the seller actually owns the property in question, check for unpaid debts, taxes, or legal issues with the property, review any contracts in the local language, and ultimately help protect you from scams. And guys, scams do unfortunately happen, especially in more underdeveloped markets where, again, many things might be offline, and you hear stories all the time of people who put a deposit down, or they try and buy a construction project that's under works, and they never actually get the home they think they're getting. Really, working with a local real estate lawyer and someone who is specialized in this is kind of your insurance policy. And as a pro tip, I recommend finding expats who have purchased properties and try to use the same lawyer and real estate agent that they did. This is especially true when the expats are from the same country as you, because you ultimately want a lawyer who's familiar with both countries or at least has some experience with expat deals, so again, you have the best support possible throughout the process. Alright guys, and for the sixth step, it's a little bit more exciting again because now you've ideally found a property you're interested in, you're working with a real estate agent and local lawyer, and you're ready to submit an offer. Typically how this process works once due diligence is complete is you'll make an offer, you'll then negotiate prices and terms with the seller, you'll sign a preliminary agreement, and then you'll put down a deposit. Now again, at this point in time, the deal is not finished. Things can still happen that either interrupt the deal or force you guys to negotiate again, but this is once again where having a lawyer on your side is super important. At this point in time, your lawyer will verify that the title is clean, there are no hidden debts, and that the property complies with local laws. Now again, depending on the country, this process can take weeks, it can take months, there can be random delays, so one thing to keep in mind is that it is important to be patient. Another key mindset you should have here is that you have to have the ability to walk away from the deal if something fishy pops up or if it just ultimately isn't the right fit once you uncover a bit more information. Even if you love the country, even if you love the house, even if you've spent weeks or months in the process, do not have the sunk cost fallacy here. You have to be able to walk away if it's in your best interest. But guys, if everything is looking good, then it's time for step 7, which is to actually make the final purchase. At this stage, this is essentially where contracts are signed, funds are transferred, and then ownership is officially recorded. And ideally, the lawyer you're working with should be able to make this all a smooth process without any surprises, and you'll basically be ready to own your first property abroad and move in. But guys, this is where I also want to talk about something a lot of people underestimate, and that's moving money abroad internationally and not getting absolutely destroyed by fees. Again, if you're sending $50, $100, $200, $500,000 abroad or more, especially in different currencies, transaction fees really start to matter. Now, traditional banks often add hidden margins to exchange rates. They charge higher transfer fees as well, and they also move super slowly, which can actually ruin a deal or cause you to lose tons of money if currencies fluctuate against your favor. And this is once again why I'm personally a huge fan of using Wise and why I think it's a great solution if you plan on buying a home abroad. Like I mentioned, Wise provides tiered discounts on large international transfers once you're sending over $25,000. Like I said, you also get that dedicated support specialist for large transfers, which really provides so much peace of mind when you send large sums abroad. Just note that Wise is a tech company, not a bank, although FDIC insurance is available via partner banks, which is awesome. Fees are often way lower than traditional banks, and again, Wise is transparent. It shows you the fees up front so you know exactly what you're dealing with. After all, when you're making one of the biggest purchases of your life, you definitely don't want any friction. But anyways, guys, now that you know how to find and purchase a property abroad, I want to cover some of the most important considerations and a few red flags you need to keep in mind. And really the first red flag I would look out for would be dealing with property managers or real estate agents who are pushing a lot of completely undeveloped builds, especially in developing markets. A lot of properties can look absolutely amazing on a 3D outline or in renderings, but really until ground is broken and until an actual building is up, you are taking a risk when you purchase a property that is under construction. I've seen this happen so many times in places like Mexico or the Dominican Republic where really excited foreign buyers, they put their money into a dream project, it's promised that it'll be built in the next 2 years, and 5, 6, 7 years later, the project is still not finished or the developers have run out of money and it's just this endless nightmare that is never solved. Personally, I would never buy unfinished or undeveloped properties in most areas of the world. I think the risk is too high and I think you can find some beautiful properties that are already built. Now, the second red flag to look out for is when you find a listing where the price is way lower than market value. This might look like a deal or like you found some kind of hidden gem, but there's pretty much always a reason why a property has a super low price, so you should be immensely cautious. Now, the third red flag is that the seller cannot provide any clear ownership documentation to actually support the fact that they own the property in question. If ownership isn't crystal clear or if any debt or outstanding obligations aren't crystal clear, walk away, it's not worth the risk. And this kind of ties into a fourth red flag you should watch out for, which is when either sellers or real estate agents use pressure tactics to try and get you to rush through this process. If someone is saying something like, if you don't buy this property today, tomorrow it's gone, that's manipulation, that's a pressure tactic, it's not necessarily true, and you shouldn't be treated like that, so you should probably walk away. And finally, the fifth red flag, it's not so much of a red flag, but it's more of a consideration, and it would just be to be cautious when you're looking and super popular, hyped up expat areas. In a lot of countries, there are emerging bubbles where honestly real estate prices are as expensive as in North America or Western Europe. So you might be moving to a country with a cheaper cost of living, but then you might be paying for an expensive house that kind of eats up all your budget. At some point in time, prices stop making sense as well. It doesn't matter that you're abroad, you still have to use some common sense, and you don't want to buy in a bubble that pops in the next 5 to 10 years. But anyways, guys, there you have it for the steps to buying an international property and some of the most important considerations you should have along the way. Really, if there's one final thing I'll drive home once again, it's that this is not a race, it's really a marathon, and you definitely shouldn't rush this process. The people who ultimately find their dream international homes are the ones who move deliberately. And the last thing you want to do is regret a massive purchase because you rushed and based decisions on your feelings. You really can find the house of your dream abroad, but you have to take your time, you have to understand the local laws, the nuances, and spend considerable time in the country you plan on moving to. And again, once you start dealing with deposits and transfers and foreign currencies, I recommend you guys use Wise. Using Wise is a smarter way to manage your international finances and can help make the relocation process feel much more straightforward. Like I said, I've put Wise in the description box. I've also put them in the pinned comment down below if you guys want to check them out and sign up and also help support the channel. You can also ask me questions about Wise or about this process in general. And if you have a dream location you're planning on moving to, I'd also love to hear from you guys down in the comments. That really does it for this one, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day and week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.